Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I'm Robbie Rhino and I'm very excited today because I am able to give away the AMX 13 SS-11 TCA, which is the tank you see before you, my favourite light tank in the Cold War game mode. And you are able to win this with a giveaway alongside today's video. It's a very dangerous, highly mobile, very sneaky tank with great firepower, a 4-shot ATGM autoloader and a 6-shot 75mm autoloader as your primary cannon. You can use the multiple weapon system and you're very devastating indeed. So all you have to do to be in with a chance of winning this tank, or one of the 3 runners-up prizes that you have just seen, the 1 skill 3D commander, the classified or the confidential keycard, is comment on this video with your gamertag and your platform. Let me know which tanks, or which prizes I should say, you are in for, and I'll let you know who has won on Wednesday the 18th of January around 10 PM UTC, give or take a couple of hours. I'll let the winners know directly where possible, but if you haven't heard, just check on my Twitter, which can be found in the description. I'll check the description or the pinned comment on this video and you will find out who has won. So good luck to everyone for entering. Thank you for your support, and whoever wins this tank, you have picked up an absolute gem. It's a joy to play and it is very devastating indeed. And in these 2 replays in today's video, hopefully I will be able to demonstrate the firepower of this tank and the kind of damage you can expect. I'm currently going for the 3 marks of excellence in this tank, and it's usually within the top 3 hardest tanks to 3 mark or get the 100% mark of excellence in Era 2, as according to WoTstars.com. So I've got my work cut out for me. I've got plenty of good games lined up for a 3 mark series, but I've got these 2 here to show you the kind of combined damage you can expect and the kind of damage you can get with the ATGMs as we put a round into the rear of that T-55 Enigma, making sure to aim away from his frontal composite spaced armor. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the AMX 13. I'll tell you my equipment and commander setup should you wish to play it the same way as I have done in these 2 gameplays. I'll link my full in-depth videos on this tank at the end of today's video. But of course, you can tweak your setup and how you play the tank to your liking. I just thought I'd try and help out anyone who's new to the light tank gameplay, especially in the Cold War game mode, or someone who wants to see what this tank is capable of. So like I said, the AMX 13 has 2 different ammunition choices. You have your primary 75mm 6-shot autoloader, which can do 1080 damage per clip, 180 damage per shell. Unfortunately, you do have bad penetration, low penetration on your standard and premium rounds, 212mm on standard rounds and 231mm on your premium APCR, which is the reason I run full premium APCR, because this gun needs every little bit of help it can get. It can struggle frontally with a lot of the different heavy tanks and medium tanks in Era 2, but you can use your mobility to get to the sides and rear, and you should be able to make it work at least most of the time. A very nice intricate reload on this 6-shot autoloader at 2 seconds, 6 shots per clip. With my commander and equipment setup, I reload in around 8.11 seconds, I should say, for these 6 shells with a nice DPM of 3,578. Just watch out for the ammunition count. You carry 60 rounds, but in a very long drawn out game, you might run out because you also have limited ATGMs as well. So that brings us on to the 4-shot ATGM autoloader, and as I have just said, you can only carry 8 ATGMs, which is 2 full magazines of your ATGMs per battle, and you do run out of them very quickly, so make everyone count. They do 1210 damage per shot with a penetration of 660mm, so very nice indeed. Watch out for the very slow shell velocity at 160 meters a second, so this is a good tank to practice leading with your ATGMs. It can be a bit frustrating, but at mid to close range it can work very well, and at long ranges it just takes a bit of getting used to. There is a long intricate reload between the ATGMs of 15 seconds, and with my setup I reload the 4 ATGMs in 32.43 seconds with a DPM of 3,751, and when you combine the DPMs that I now have with my setup and the multiple weapon system and both the 6-shot autoloader and the 4-shot ATGM autoloader, I'm looking at a combined DPM when I'm loaded of approximately 7,328, and of course that's limited to portions of the battle and whilst I have full ammunition count, but it just goes to prove how devastating this tank can be in terms of the damage you can do, and hopefully in the gameplay in the background you are seeing how dangerous this tank can be. As we're circling this WZ-122, you're seeing the penetration is pretty poor and sometimes the shells are missing due to the fact we aren't using run and gun on our commander. I'll tell you what my commander and equipment setup is in just a little bit as we watch the final bit of today's first gameplay. I try and improve the concealment and mobility as much as possible, and sometimes that's at the detriment to the gun handling, but of course you do have to sometimes take your medicine, pick your poison, and just hope it works out for you. And we've got ourselves into a 1 versus 6, which we very quickly made into a 1 versus 3, and at this point I thought the dream was on, the magic was happening. Unfortunately we only have 40 rounds of the 75mm autoloader. We've run out of ATGM, so it's going to be tricky, and I didn't quite realise how much hit points the enemy team had at this point, so I'm trying to get into a stealth position to get shots in on the capture circle as it's an encounter battle, but it's going to be tricky with the penetration values of this 75mm at mid to long ranges, losing penetration over distance. So in terms of my equipment and commander setup, in terms of my equipment I run advanced concealment, advanced powertrain and traction system, and in terms of my commander skills I run 6th sense, born leader, rapid loading, steady aim, rapid aim, snapshot, camouflage, expertise, muffled shot and green thumb. So I'm doing everything I can to improve the mobility because it isn't fantastic and it's a lot slower than the other era 2 light tanks, and I'm trying to improve my concealment rating, which is already pretty nice, but boost it to a level where I'm able to outspot most of the other tanks apart from maybe some of the sneakier light tanks. And in terms of my commander skills, 3 gun handling perks, 3 concealment perks, rapid loading to help the DPM, and 6th sense and born leader standard. If you have a similar setup to me, you'll now have a steel concealment rating of 195.4 meters, a top forward speed of 75 kilometers an hour, a top reverse speed of 28.87 kilometers an hour, and your engine power will have been boosted, so your power to weight will have gone up from 22.81 to 23.95 power to weight ratio, meaning you are able to outrun things like the FV-4-211, the T-55 Enigma, things like the Magak 5 and slower medium tanks, which is basically what I wanted to do. I'm never going to be able to outrun the absolute fastest tanks in this era, but it's more than enough to try and get re-stealthed in a situation like this and come in from a different angle. In terms of the view range then, base view range is 540, I now have 563 meters, and in terms of steel concealment rating, it was 292.61, it's now 195.4 meters, sorry. So yeah, with that sort of view range, still concealment ratio, I'm able to outspot pretty much most of the heavy tank, main battle tank, quite a lot of the medium tanks, some light tanks depending on what kind of crew they have. But as you saw in that battle, I kind of backed myself into a corner there with the tank traps. It would have been very difficult to take that one down, but we still finished with a respectable damage total there, with 7 kills, a profit of 241,000 silver, 9.4k direct damage and 2.4k assistance, showing you the damage potential of this tank and the kind of things that you can expect to do with a longer battle. And it's kind of a double-edged sword. The longer the battle, the more chance you have to put these ATGMs to work, to use your mobility and concealment, stay on the outer edges of the map and use your concealment to your advantage. The only problem is when it comes to that latter stage, and if you don't have any ATGMs left, it can be a real nuisance. So it might be a thought to play slightly less aggressive than I do and maybe keep 1 ATGM just in case for the end of the battle if it's looking like it's going to be a close game. So we're now here in the second battle. We are here on Raseiniai, one of my least favourite maps, but I seem to have good damage games in it. I just don't like playing it and the look of it. But we've come up here on this standard battle on Raseiniai to the castle area. We're going to sit in a bush, or as close to the bush as possible, and try and get some view range out towards the centre and see who's trying to get into the castle. We don't spot anyone for around 10 seconds, so we're going to move on through the open. I'm very comfortable with the mobility and the concealment of this tank, and I feel like I can retreat to where my teammates are should I get spotted or shot at with the True Vision system. So I'm going to make the most of this little break in the line of enemy's defence, move towards their capture circle and see if there's any campers around at the back. We're going to get rewarded for being aggressive in a minute by finding an AFK M60A3. And although it's kind of cheap damage, getting damage on an AFK tank, the thing is I'm getting spotting on tanks behind me, and it also means that I'm able to take this tank out who has the ability still to spot me even though he's AFK. And just as luck would have it, as I get into a position to sort of unload on the M60A3, he comes back into the battle, and the first thing he's going to see is an ATGM come right into his side, smack him right in the side and track him in place for our friendly teammates. I'm just waiting for him to maybe turn around and fire. Our teammates are going to take him out. Unfortunately, we don't get the tracking as the tracks repaired themselves, but still it's another tank taken out of the game. There's a Leopard 1A1 side onto us, and how can you resist putting an ATGM into the side of a Leopard? That's a low roll, and we still dealt over 1000 damage at 1030, showing you, yeah, it definitely does rack up the damage when you penetrate these ATGMs. Just make them count, make sure you get an ambush shots off on people that are distracted, and you should be able to rack up a lot of damage and make a lot of silver in this tank. You have a 55% silver bonus, and yeah, with the high damage potential of this tank, it means that you have a high silver earning potential as well. We take out that Leopard 1A1 there with our ATGM. I didn't want to take any more damage and use my 75mm, and it's all about just getting the feel of when to use what ammunition. To change between your 75mm autoloader and your 4-shot ATGM autoloader, you just hold down whatever you use as your ammo select button, and it's no time penalty, very quick, and it means that you are able to rapidly take out a tank very quickly indeed, which doesn't make any sense because I just said the same thing twice, but let's just go with it. We're now going to go after this Scorpion 90 with our 6-shot autoloader. We tried to track him in place by nudging him there, but we're very light and it didn't work. We're going to get our last shell in. I was thinking about going out and just chasing him even more. We have reloaded an ATGM. I'm hoping I'm going to get one into him, but I didn't want to get caught in that little dip. That Scorpion 90 has great HE rounds. They'll be able to penetrate me every time with a 4-second reload, and yeah, I've only got 1600 hit points. I definitely didn't want to play with fire there. Because I've had the experience of playing with fire too much in this tank and getting absolutely annihilated and ironically set on fire. So we're going to use our teammates' distraction here to get an ATGM into the rear of that Leopard 1 and follow it up with a killing blow with our 75mm. Yeah, and that just shows you how quickly you can turn the tide of a battle. There could be a very dangerous player, a very dangerous tank on the enemy team, and you have the ability to click your fingers, put an ATGM, then another round in with your 75mm and take them out. And it's why I love this tank. It just prints damage, prints silver, and I seem to have massive combined damage totals. Playing a bit of a risky game coming in on that M60A2 with his very derpy gun, but we fire on the move then, and when I'm firing on the move, my main thought is to guide the ATGM and let the tank drive itself with the auto drive. Just make sure you're aiming the ATGM, and usually you can make them work. Now we're going to try and fire on the move at this T55 Enigma. Completely screw up that ATGM, showing you that, you know, even with a lot of experience, I'm still not the absolute best player in the game, far from it. But, you know, it's those mistakes that you can learn from and improve. And we're just going to do a big circle, wait for our ATGM to load in, and try and get the last remaining ATGM we have into the side of the T55 Enigma. Did a lot of damage there. We're still in a pretty close battle. We're behind by one tank. I still have 1.6k health left, and I'm going to try and use my mobility to come and help out my heavy tank as this BMP-1 is circling him. We take him out. I'm firing my smoke to protect my heavy tank, and now I'm going to try and circle this M50, who has pretty bad traverse speeds. Fantastic concealment, but we should be able to outmaneuver him any day of the week because we have a fully traversable turret and he doesn't, and he's very slow at turning, and we have boosted our mobility to the best that we can without using something like Octane as a consumable. Just a last note before this gameplay ends, as you can see I run large repair, large med kit, because everything gets damaged all of the time in this tank, especially or only when you get hit, but that happens quite frequently because you can play this tank quite aggressively and get into positions where you are likely to take at least a couple of shots. So large repair, large med kit. And in terms of the third consumable, I run the enhanced smokescreen to passively and actively help my concealment, and it really gets you out of a jam. Maybe especially when you've used your repair kit and you're tracked in the open, you can definitely use it to confuse the enemies. So now we're just trying to find this M50 Ontos again. For some reason, that thing's just got absolutely insane concealment. It's a lot of fun to play. I think I gave that away last month, perhaps. It's good, but not quite as good as the AMX 13 SS-11 TCA as we take out that M50 Ontos. So that's it for the second gameplay and the final gameplay in today's video. We finished with a nice mastery badge there, MVP on our team with nearly 1.8k base XP, nearly 500,000 silver, 7 kills, 9.7k direct damage, and 2.6k assistance. So that's it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, I'll see you on the battlefield. Good luck, bye for now.